Welcome to Black Sheep. Come on in. Hi there, I'm Nancy from Black Sheep Knitting in Needham, Massachusetts. Sitting here in my yarn shop on a Thursday, and we've just had our first snowfall. And luckily it's all going to melt, which is always good, but it's nice. I was sitting this morning knitting, watching the snow, and it was really lovely and cozy. So that's the first of hopefully many snows. We'll see. Some things that are going on in the shop. On Saturday, December the 7th, we are having a trunk show of Dirty Water Dye Works. So Stephanie and her amazing yarns will be here from 1 to 5 on Saturday. I hope if you are looking for gifts for people or something to knit for yourself, that you'll come and check out her yarn. She'll bring samples, so she'll give you lots of ideas of things to make with her yarn, and she's been very popular in the past, so do come by. Other things that are coming up, not much. A lot of holiday knitting, which is keeping us very busy here in the shop, and we're happy to see people knitting wintry things. And right now, if you're going to do holiday gifts, we have some ideas for you. One thing I wanted to start off with was a thing that occurred to me the other day. People often come in with their yarns that they've wound at home, which is, yay, that's good for you. But one thing I've noticed is that people have a tendency to wind them too tightly. And this is not a good idea for a lot of reasons. Well, the main reason is that it will stretch your yarn. And over time, particularly if you have wound this ball and it's going to sit around in your house for 2 months, there's noise outside with the truck, sorry. You don't want it to do that because it can then change your gauge. And then if you come and have it wound in the yarn shop, it's wound more loosely, and so it'll be different. So I'm going to show you a method that I use. I'm going to just start this, and I usually just start it around one of my fingers, and then as I go, I'm going to put a finger here and wrap around my finger so that when I take it out, it's nice and loose. And then I'm going to do it again this way. You can even do a couple of fingers if you want. But you don't want to knit it into this hard, tight ball. The yarn doesn't like to have that done to it, and it doesn't need it. So you want to do you see how, and then I take my finger out and it's nice and loose. So you want it to be a nice, loose winding so that none of this is stressed and pulled too tight. So it should be squishy. This one is a little tight. If it's a hard ball and you drop it and it has a little bit of a thud, it's wound too tight. So you don't want to do that. Another hint about storing your yarn and preparing it for knitting. I would only wind 1 or 2 skeins. Suppose I'm doing a sweater. I never wind all of the yarn, in part because, again, there's that stretching of the yarn when you're winding it, and even when we do it on the winder, it's the same thing. It stretches it a little bit, and it's not good to have it sitting all wound up for months and months if you take a long time. So I recommend, winding as much as you're going to use in the next several weeks, and then wind it again. When you're winding yarn that's in a skein, not a skein, a hank, this is a hank. These are hanks. A skein is different. This is a ball, and a skein, I don't have a skein right here, but a skein is, yeah, you can call that, this is a skein. So if you see these, they're squishy, they're not tight. So these you don't have to worry about. But I wouldn't take a hank and wind it really tight. Well, what I started to say, and I got off track, is that a hank of yarn, you can't just lay it on the table and unwind it. So the first thing that you want to do If you don't have a winder, you can put it around a chair, or somebody who's patient enough can hold their arms up. I wouldn't make them do that, frankly. I put it around my knees. And then you cut all the ties and find the end, and then gently roll it this way. If you get a snag, don't go pulling it like crazy. You will end up with a big fat mess. You can try to gently, very gently, try to undo the snag. And it takes a little patience, and you may have to, put one piece of yarn under another. But if you get really aggressive with it, you'll end up with a big, awful mess. And we've had people come in here and ask us to untangle. We don't really have time to untangle people's yarn, so please don't ask us. If somebody's very kind, they might do it, but it's a big time suck, and you don't want to do that. We have some things in the shop that are new. Well, this is one thing. We got these bags, and I thought they're a really nice canvas knitting bag with a bit of a bottom to it, and they have this one, of course, as you can see, says never too many needles, and then there's a hedgehog. And the other one is called You Pack Some Yarn, I'll Pack a Needle. So anyway, they're cute. The nice gift if you're looking for a gift for someone, and I don't believe they're very expensive. $25, so for a nice sturdy bag. So that's something. I wanted to show you some ideas for some smaller projects, and this one is a cowl, and I've decided that, and I saw some today that were even bigger than this. They're really nice to put on because they don't slide around or anything. You just have it on. I take triangular scarves and I wrap them all around, and I'm always rewrapping them during the day. So a cowl like this is really nice, and there's some good patterns. I'm blanking on. There was one I saw this morning on a video called Somebody's Gambit. I wish I could remember. But if I think of it, I'll tell Robin, and she'll put it on the next email. But this one's called Everyday Cowl, and it's made in a DK. And I got some DK weight yarns out that I thought would be pretty for it. These are Madeline Tosh DK. This one is, and it's a superwash merino. This one is called Frontier Stars. I thought would be pretty. And this is a very simple pattern, and I think it's done flat and then sewn together at the back. So you don't have to worry about knitting in the round. Simple pattern with a slipped, I don't know if it's a slip stitch or just a knit. I think it's slipped. But don't quote me on that. This one's called Night in Chile. I don't know where they get these names, but I wouldn't be clever enough to think up that one. This one's called Fire Opal, and oh my gosh, look at the colors in that. Aren't they just yummy? That would be really pretty around your face. Somebody's face, maybe not mine. And this is called Jaded Dreams. I love the colors in this. There's a yellowy gold and turquoise and almost like an evergreen. Lots of colors. So I think those would be fun. I want to show you something else that is apropos of nothing, but we got some more earth yarns in, the unique worsted, and we got unique sock. And we got this Christmas color in the worsted and the sock. So if anybody's interested in doing a Christmassy hat for someone or a pair of socks, we have this, and it's a really nice, really pretty color. Ooh, okay, here we go. And this happens all the time. Here's a little knot in the yarn, which in the industry, one knot or maybe even two are acceptable. Beyond that, it's not really acceptable. But the thing about a knot is if you come upon a knot, cut your yarn on, leaving a 6-inch or 4-inch tail for each one. But do not knit with this. And the reason is, you can hide it, which is fine, but the reason is that that knot with wear can come undone. And if the knot comes undone and it's in your knitting, you've got no yarn to repair it with. You can't do anything. So you really, I don't know if this is, maybe this is one of the ties, but if you come upon a knot in your knitting, you really need to cut the yarn and start anew. You can't, don't rely on that knot staying, because it probably won't. I'm wearing, this is what I'm wearing today, is the Carbeth sweater, and we have a sample here and a sample here that I'm wearing. This I knit in a worsted weight. The pattern calls for more of like 4 to the inch, or 3.5 to the inch. So this, the only way I got this to work was I did a larger size in this. It's a really fun, easy knit. I made 3 of them in varying different yarns and changed the sizes. But this is a yarn that would work for it. This is the Eco Plus and the Ecological Wool. And this yarn is 3.5 to 4 stitches per inch. And it's a great value for what it is. There's 478 yards, which is amazing for $27.50. So if you think about that, you could do 2, maybe 2 would get you a sweater out of this, or 3. So there's some great colors. This one is called Jet, and I've shown this before, but I thought I would show you again. There is this pretty one called Chillin Heather, and this one is Campfire Heather. We have this, the pink, which I can't remember the name of it. These don't stay together very well. This is called Silver. And finally, we have Cloud Heather. Anyway, this I made in a yarn that we no longer have, unfortunately. But I can tell you this is not a superwash wool, this is a wool. And if you want to, I put this on today because it's so warm on a snowy day. It just felt like the right thing to wear. So we did a workshop in this, which was very successful. We had a lot of people took the workshop. So I don't know if we'd offer that again, but it's a great cardigan. And it also comes in a pullover. So I did 2 pullovers, which has kind of the same neck, just not a cardigan. And I looked for it here in the shop. I must have taken it home, or it's in the window. But it's a great pattern, fits very well, and I've enjoyed wearing it. So we have another new yarn in the shop that is just gorgeous, and we haven't had this before. This is Madeline Tosh Triple Twist. It's a superwash merino, and it is 15 to 7 stitches over 4 inches. So it's a good range there of, you know, somebody would say it's an Aran, somebody else would say it's a worsted. And this is a sort of a cautionary tale for all of you. When you look at a pattern, do not look at whether it's Aran, worsted, DK, whatever. Fingering usually is fairly standard, but people mix up or interchange worsted, DK, and Aran. It's not a good measure of what the yarn is. When you look at the label, you want to look at the stitches over 4 inches, or stitches per inch. That is a better way of seeing what kind of yarn you should use. If it just says Aran, well, that could be, somebody could be meaning 4 stitches to the inch, or 4.5. You just don't know what they mean, because everybody's definition of those terms is different. And the same with bulky and chunky. Super bulky, you can kind of guess, or you kind of know, and you see it, it's quite thick. But the better way to, this is a pun, but to gauge what yarn to use is to look at the gauge. Don't look at somebody saying it's a DK, because their definition of a DK might be 20 stitches over 4 inches, but that could be my definition of a worsted. So it's not a good, needle size can also be a good marker, but do your gauge and look at the gauge. So when you go looking, look at labels on yarns and look at the same gauge as your pattern, not Aran worsted. I mean, that's kind of a clue what range to look in, but I can tell you from looking at thousands of patterns over time that people's definitions, designers' definitions of those terms, Aran, worsted, DK, they vary a great deal. Or sport, you know, somebody could say use a sport weight when they really, the gauge is a DK weight. So you really want to look at the gauge on your pattern and the gauge on your label. And I know I've said that before, but bears repeating. So this one is Aura. It's kind of a gray with a blue hint. And I find these are really good. We don't have this in huge quantities, but really good for hats and mittens and scarves and smaller cowls, smaller projects. Although you can get a sweater's worth if you'd like. This one is called Lost in Trees. Really pretty greens. I like that one a lot. And this one is called Saffron. Let's see, this is Medieval. This is again, somebody might say to you, this is purple. Somebody might say to you, it's wine. I wouldn't call it purple. I would call it dark mauve, but you know, it's, I don't know what I would call that. But it's not purple. I don't think it's purple. Purple has more blue in it. Anyway, that has more, I don't know. This one's called Deep. It's very deep. It's got blues, light blues, turquoisey blues, and there's another one. This is called Undergrowth. Greens and blues, turquoise, and Dirty Panther. This is dark gray. I'll never forget, you know, people's definitions of things are different. I remember one day on St. Patrick's Day, I wore what I thought was a green skirt, and I got to work and everybody said, no, that's not green, that's blue. So it's all in the eye of the beholder. I wanted to show you, before we finish, because I don't think I have a lot more to say, something I'm working on. I made this sweater a long time ago and made it too small because I tried to use, I thought I was using a yarn that was going to work. I probably did not check my gauge carefully enough, but I loved the sweater, so I decided to do it again. And it's a sweater called Timber, and here I have a better picture of it here, but it's an open sweater. It doesn't have buttonholes. You could make it bigger. You could add stitches on the front and make it bigger to put buttons, but I chose to just have plain. So I found a yarn that I had in my stash, which is a yarn that we carried here a long time ago. It's the Isayer Aran Tweed. And Isayer does not put gauges on their yarn, just so you know that. So if you buy their yarns, you kind of have to do a gauge. But I decided that I wanted it to be nice and soft. And this is it's a woolly wool, which I love because it's nice and warm and it lasts forever. So I chose an Isayer, do I have the label? I think I don't. An Isayer mohair, silk mohair. So I put the two together And now I'm getting this softer version. And I've just broken for the body, broken for the sleeves. The sleeves are unholed. And I've been carefully measuring this to make sure that it's not going to be too small for me, because that would be a tragedy. The other one that was too small, I tried blocking it. It still never worked. And I think now I've decided, because I love the yarn I did it in, I'm going to undo it. I'm going to rip it out and reuse the yarn, which is, why not? You know, if you have something in a beautiful yarn and you don't like it, doesn't fit you or whatever, rip it out. You do have to then reskein the yarn and then soak it. You have to wash it and soak it, because, and then hang it up to dry, because all those little rivulets or crimps in it from knitting will stay there, and it won't look good when you're knitting it. You won't get an accurate gauge from it, so you need to do that. But I'm willing to do that for a yarn that I like. And the other one I did was in a yarn I can't get now. So I think that's what I shall do. Anyway, I'm well on my way. It's a fun knit. You're on a big, I want to say I'm on a 9 or a 10. Good question, Nancy. I do not know, but I think it's a 9. Anyway, that's what I'm working on. So I thought I would look around the shop to see what could you use for this, and Robin's going to check it for me. No, it doesn't go.
It's a 9.
It's a 9. I thought so. Robin, if you could throw me those yarns. So we have some yarn in the shop that would be really, really nice for this. And this is a super soft, beautiful tweedy yarn called Stone Tweed. Millstone Tweed. We had the, I thought that wasn't right. We had the label covering up the name of the yarn. So this is Millstone Tweed, and it is a mixture of wool, polyamide, and viscose. And it's super, super soft. It's not a superwash wool, which I'm liking more and more these days, because some of these superwash wools, when you go to block them, they grow, and people have been coming in and complaining. You have to be super careful with them. So these are, and I've shown this yarn before, but I thought I would show you again, because I think this is the perfect yarn for this project. This is called Shadow. This is Tiger, and lots of bluey colors here. This is Peacock, and so pretty. This is called Admiral. This is a deep, deep navy blue for you navy blue lovers. And this is Chiffon. Yeah, these are hard to read. Chiffon. And Pine. Beautiful green. These colors are just beautiful. They really knocked it out of the park with this. This is Pink Lemonade. And finally, this is called Anchor. A nice gray. These have flecks of other colors in them. This is what I love about these kind of tweeds. They're really, really nice. And it's super soft. You can knit this tweed without, lots of times like I did, you'd want to put a mohair with it to soften it up. But with this you don't. It's just really soft. And I imagine even after soaking it, it will be beautiful. So I think that's all I have. We have some gifty items coming in that you'll, if you want. And we also have gift certificates available. We don't have them online, but I think I had an idea of how to do it online. But you can call the shop or come in if you'd like a gift certificate for someone. We're happy to mail it to them. So that's an idea for a holiday gift. And I think that's it for today. Short and sweet, right? So have a great day. The weather is great for knitting. It's gotten colder, and it's really nice to sit. And if you have a fireplace, by a fire at night with a cup of tea or a glass of wine, it's always nice. So happy knitting, and I'll see you next time. Bye.